Greetings, everybody. Alex Powers here with Historical Light. We're back with the odd style again, as you can imagine, having some more tech issues. So Zoom didn't want to connect to Facebook, running late, so we're doing what we knew works, and we're hopping right back on with the cell phone computer combo. So I don't know, do what we got to do, right? How you doing, brother Robert?
Doing well here. How about you, man?
Doing well, man. It's another beautiful day. Seems like this whole quarantine deal's winding to an end, and probably be back at work early as next week. So next few days are gonna be like the longest Sunday ever, man. I'm kind of bummed out not to spend time with the family anymore, but as with everything, has to move on, right? Now, how's everything looking down in your area, man? Is day to day improving any down there?
Uh, I, I don't really have access to the numbers or anything to know that. Traffic's starting to get a little worse in town, I hear, which means more people are getting out in spite of the shelter-in-place orders. Uh, Yeah, I don't really know. I know we've had about 50 deaths in the McLennan County area, and there's still a few COVID cases in the hospitals, but not as many as there were.
Right.
So that's good. That's a clear sign of improvement, is we don't have as many COVID patients in one of the local hospitals, and I only know that because my fiance works in it. So.
Yeah, she got moved down to the front line pretty much, isn't that right?
Yeah. She, the ER and the ICU, including the floor where they're putting all the COVID patients.
Man, that's rough. Well, we've got a bunch of guys hopping on tonight, as every night. Really appreciate you guys throughout this time. I know a lot of you guys have supported Historical Light on our mission throughout the years, but we've really seen that following grow through this time. And man, we just really appreciate all the support, and are really pleased that we're able to provide this platform for a few minutes every night for everybody to get together and join in some history and join in a toast together. So it's been fantastic, man. And we really getting a lot of comments coming through saying, love you guys, all this. And that feeling's totally mutual. Every one of you guys, so happy to see these names coming through every night. It's awesome stuff, man. Really is.
Yep, it's fun to see all the growth and additional input and feedback we're getting. You guys, I've done this a few times, and I don't really care if you're tired of hearing it. I'm going to do it again anyway. If you're enjoying these toasts, please do go over to either our YouTube channel, the website, Spotify, wherever you want to do it, and give some of our full-length episodes a chance. There's a good chance you'll find one of the topics on those episodes that will appeal to you. It might be history of Freemasonry in Asia, it might be history of Freemasonry in one particular lodge somewhere, could be crossover to other fraternities, or even the history of the goat jokes and references. Yep. So all kinds of stuff waiting for you over there.
Yeah, it's a great point, man. Throughout this, we really haven't done that enough. Obviously, these lives are an extension. I mean, really, they're basically mini episodes of what we do for the full episode. So, yeah, definitely, if you guys enjoy this, you'll enjoy our mission throughout Historical Light, which is really, to bring awareness to Masonic history. And Masonic history has touched so much. There's so much there to talk about. And not just the main events, but, what thrills me about Masonic history is those little topics that people just don't know about. The senior brother in your lodge, sitting down with him and having that conversation of what the lodge was like, years before when he came through, what it was that brought him into Masonry, and more importantly, what made him stay. It's those little bits of Masonic history that people often take for granted, and they don't really get brought to light as much as they should. And, as much as I'm a fan of the big names out there, and that's a huge part of Masonic history, that's only a small part of it in the big picture. So throughout all these episodes, man, we've loved to have the opportunity to bring to light some of those less talked about subjects. And it's been a blast along the way. So definitely check us out, historicallight.com. If you're not subscribed, do so. We've got the YouTube channel. We're also syndicated across all the major audio networks for the podcast side. And if you enjoy the mission, click on that support button and help us keep the lights on. It'd be much appreciated. And I think with that, we're working on getting some new lapel pins out and some shirts and swag and such. So definitely keep an eye out for that as well. And obviously, for those of you tuning in just now, you see the weird setup, tech issues again. So I'm peering over, seeing where we're at on time. And we're actually at 8:58. So, Robert, you got something quick to share for history? We blabbed on a little bit.
I heard you say my name, but I don't know what you said.
I said you got a quick bit of history to share. We got about 2 minutes.
I've got some reading I can do. It's probably going to take longer than 2 minutes, though. I'll be reading After the Toast from the book I recently showed the cover of, Life in a Medieval City. Picked it up in the Seattle airport a couple weeks ago, and it will cover trade guilds and early Masons in medieval France. A little bit of insight into what life was like for those people and those organizations.
Yeah, that sounds like a fantastic read. I remember you mentioning that, and I still haven't acted upon picking up that book, but I think I really need to. Every time you talk about it, it sparks my interest a little bit more. Well, I guess while I'm sitting here, one thing I would share, I was trying to use it for a light source, but it's a little thing. So for Lodge of Research, I ordered something to do some pictures with, and you may recognize this symbol from not just our logo, but many Lodge of Research logos. We've got the Lamp of Knowledge. Funny story, when I bought this, because it's very similar to the one we use in the Kansas Lodge of Research logo, I was planning to do some pictures with it and advertised on eBay that it was full size, stating 12 inches. And the comments on that are just going to go all over the place, aren't they? But anyways, this little guy, after like 3 months, showed up in the mail. It came from Israel. And it caught all kinds of stops through customs along the way, and got delayed from this direction to that direction, got sent back here, and it took like 3 months for me to get it. And then I open it up, and it's a lie, and I go back, and the guys change the entire description and all. So every now and then you get burned on eBay, but whatever, it's still a cool little piece, but it's a little piece. So well, with that, Robert, we are at 9 p.m. Would you care to give our toast this evening?
Sure. In traditional fashion, it is 9 o'clock, the time at which the hands of a clock reach a right angle or square, an angle of 90 degrees. And per tradition, we always remember the absent brethren, those who cannot be with us because they're somewhere else, or because they've passed to the celestial lodge above. To the absent brethren.
To the absent brethren. What are you toasting with there tonight, Brother Robert?
Another Dogfish Head, sour beer, black lime, and sea salt. It's a pretty good one. This is the last one, so tomorrow I should have something new.
That sounds like quite the concoction there.
Oh, it's really, really good. I highly recommend it.
Sweet. Well, I got thrown off with the tech issues and whatever, and I didn't hop over to grab a glass, so I was toasting with my sparkling water.
Hold it a little lower.
Evening.
I can't see it or hear you.
So I was toasting with my sparkling water this evening. I didn't got thrown off with the tech issues, so didn't grab a glass, but it works.
I'm not sure what you said, but I saw a diamond that said Clear American on it.
Yeah. Oh, you're this way, man. See, everyone else
Little
can see
higher.
over there. Robert is here.
A little higher.
There we
Oh,
go.
there we go. A cherry limeade. That's what it is. Nice.
This is
Okay,
the stuff we're
fine.
dealing with, man. Darn tech issues. Well, Brother Robert, if you don't mind, if you can hear me, you can go ahead and do some of that reading here. We'll let it go on for a few minutes, and then we'll cap it off for the evening.
These are just a few excerpts from the book that I thought are relevant to Freemasons today, looking back on our past, which is something we do a lot here at Historical Life. We never get tired of it. So the first comes from one of the early chapters. It's giving a general description of what city life is like in medieval France in the year 1250. And it is the first mention of the book of Masons proper. It says, workmen are busy on the scaffolding outside the cathedral that sheathes the massive masonry. A huge crane standing inside the masonry shell drops its line over the wall. Masons' lodges and workshops crowd the space between the cathedral and the bishop's palace. And that's the first mention. I've got a few more marked here. They get more and more interesting, but that really begins picturing what it would have been like. The lodges for the Masons were located in between the cathedral they were building and the bishop's palace, the guy who would have been the overseer for all of the work being done, building and spiritual. Guilds, in general, have two kinds of regulations. One has to do with external affairs, with what might be called the commercial side of the guild, or dealing with the public. The other deals with internal matters, such as wages, duration and conditions of apprenticeship, welfare, and obligations to the guild. On being invested, the officers of the guild solemnly swear that they will guard the guild carefully and loyally, and that in appraising its products, they will spare neither relatives nor friends, nor condemn anyone wrongly through hatred or ill feeling. Officers of all the guilds swear similar oaths. So that should sound pretty familiar to any Masons out there. Guilds often provide members with baptismal gifts when their children are born, help ill and destitute members, pay something toward hospital and funeral expenses, and do a little charitable work. This mutual aid aspect of the craft guild goes far back. A guild that does not provide benevolent services usually has a brotherhood, an auxiliary that may be the original form of the association. Weavers, furriers, bakers, masons, and many other crafts have brotherhoods, each under an appropriate patron saint. St. Catherine for the wheelwrights, because she was broken on the wheels. St. Sebastian for the needle makers. St. Mary Magdalene for the perfumers, and so forth. The contract between master and apprentice, regardless of whether they belong to a guild, is sometimes written, sometimes simply, quote, sworn on the relics. All medieval oaths are taken on sacred relics. The master undertakes to feed, lodge, clothe, and shoe his apprentice, and to treat him honorably as the son of a good man. Sometimes the apprentice receives a stipend, a small one. Sometimes the master also undertakes to educate the apprentice in the liberal arts and sciences. Often he needs employees who can read and write and add and subtract. Twice a week, the apprentice may go to the notary to learn his letters. One section of this book I'm not going to be reading from is an entire chapter that mostly covers the importance of the liberal arts and sciences as we are introduced to them in the fellowcraft degree. The second kind of guild regulation governing its internal affairs often merely codifies ancient customs, such as an observance of holidays, early closing on Saturdays during Lent and during the short days of the year. The membership is divided into masters and apprentices. A middle grade, the valet or journeyman, or as we know, fellowcraft, has been introduced in a few crafts where business demands more labor, but masters do not want more competition. In most guilds, a master is permitted only a single apprentice, or perhaps two. Some interesting insight to pull from there. And of course, it didn't mention St. John for the Masons, but we do know that that would be the saint that we adopted. You heard some of the other saints adopted by various other trades. An apprentice has 5 obligations to fulfill. First, he must supply a certificate to the officers of the guild stating that he is prudent and loyal. Second, he must demonstrate that he knows the craft. In some guilds, the emerging apprentice must produce a masterpiece. And an apprentice hat maker fashions a hat, a cake baker bakes a cake, and so forth. Third, the apprentice must show that he has enough capital to go into business. Sometimes his capital is his working tools. Sometimes he needs cash. That's pretty interesting considering how important the working tools still are to our work and ritual these days. Fourth, he must swear on the saints' relics to uphold the guild's law and customs, which the officers read aloud to him, explaining and clarifying as they go. When we make our oaths, we refer to our saints, if you think about it. So there's a connection there. Finally, he pays a fee, which goes not to the guild, but to the prince, for guilds belong to the sovereign of the region. Apprenticeship varies in duration, usually from 4 years to 12. 5 years is common. And this is a little point that I think is very interesting, something that I think we would all do well to at least consider. The length of service is often related to the size of the initiation fee, as in the case whose craft can be quickly learned and yet is remunerative. An apprentice may become a master in 4 years by paying £4, in 5 years by paying £3, 6 years by paying £1, and so forth. So you had a case where apprentices paid an amount to begin their journey, and the more they paid, the less amount of time they were required to spend as an apprentice. At the end, on paying his fee, the apprentice becomes a member of the corporation, the inner body of the guild. That consists of the masters alone. Now, this is talking about a different fee. This is a dues after he has mastered apprenticeship.
Sure.
It consists of masters alone or the masters and journeymen. His rise in status calls for a celebration, a round of drinks at the tavern, or possibly a dinner. He may merely pay 5 or 10 sous to the corporation treasurer. So again, there's some parallels that should jump out to you there, especially when we're doing things like nightly toasts at 9 o'clock. There's a similar thing happening there. Let's see. Oh, I thought this one was interesting. The builder's plans are skillfully drafted on parchment to explain their intentions to bishop and chapter. Ground plans for each part of the nave, choir, and transepts, sketches of portals with sculpture indicated, scale drawings of bays and ambulatories, variant possibilities for roofing and drainage. Accomplished mathematicians, especially strong in geometry, they determine proportions by supplementing measurements in feet, inches with modules, based on squares, equilateral triangles, and other regular polygons. This knowledge is so esoteric that it remains a professional secret. The master builder is not only well paid, but highly respected, as are the master masons. A preacher cannot restrain his indignation in describing the lordly status of these elite commoners, and it gives a quote directly from one. In great buildings, the master-in-chief orders his men about, but rarely or never lends his own hand to the work, and yet he is paid much more than all the others. The master masons, with walking sticks and gloves, say cut here, cut there, but they do no work themselves. The master builder is the general of a skilled and consequently expensive army of workers. So if there's any worshipful masters or perhaps past masters out there who are catching criticism for only criticizing and not doing work, you now have an 800-year-old tradition you can appeal to.
There you go.
In the terminology of construction workers of a later day, the masons are boomers. They go where the job is, living in barracks in the cathedral yard, collecting their pay, saving it if they are prudent, spending it on drinking girls if they are not. Many own their own valuable working tools, which are passed from father to son. Others depend on tools supplied by the employer, who is normally responsible for repair and maintenance. Keeping soft iron points and edges sharp is a problem. Besides picks, hammers, wedges, and points, basic to stone dressing, masons need hatchets, trowels, spades, hoes, buckets, and sieves for mortar and lines for laying out walls. Masons are free men, skilled at their profession, capable of rising in the world. Capable of rising in the world. That's extraordinary for the year 1250. There are several categories with varying wage rates: plasterers and mortarers, stone cutters, master masons, and unskilled laborers. They usually spend their first years in the quarry learning to cut stone. A mason in the quarry may be paid 24 deniers and a weekly, plus his meals and lodging, though in winter his wage is automatically cut to match the shorter working day. A summer wage may reach 30 deniers. There is plenty of work for an expert mason. From 8 to 10 churches a year are going up in France alone. And I'll stop there. There really is a lot more in here worth looking over. You'll have to get the book, I guess, if you want to see some of the rest.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic, man. I'm going to flip it around so you can hear me as well, but it's actually good timing. My phone just popped up saying it's about to die, so that was perfect. But everybody, for those of you just hopping in, I see we got some brothers still joining us on here. If you saw the weird format tonight, we had to do it once before. Couldn't get Zoom to connect to Facebook tonight, so dealing with the technical issues and went with what we knew works. So we just did the cell phone mixed with the camera, or cell phone mixed with the laptop there. But had some fantastic reading by Robert tonight and a great toast as well. And we're going to keep that up. Don't have too much longer, a few nights, sounds like, but we'll be right here. So check us out tomorrow, 8:45 Central Standard Time. We've got Brother Maddox, who you guys know from here, be joining us tomorrow night as our guest. And going to be doing a special toast to someone dear to me, my late father-in-law, who passed away 1 year ago yesterday, or 1 year ago tomorrow. He's also my Masonic mentor as well. So that'll be a good moment. So I hope you guys all join in. A lot of you knew him, Angelo Mino. So I hope you guys join us and share in that toast with us. But brothers, until tomorrow, stay safe, be well, take time to save history. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Say bye, Robert.
Cheers, brethren.
See you guys. Take care.